The galaxy was full of stars and stories, but some stories were hidden deep in darkness. No one wanted to talk about them. One of those stories was about Earth, a small blue planet that many aliens knew about, but few wanted to admit the truth. This was a story the galaxy tried to bury. Far away from Earth, on a giant space station orbiting a dead star, a young alien investigator named Vekar studied old records. Vekar was curious and brave, but also careful. The galaxy's leaders had warned him to stay away from Earth's past. They said it was dangerous and would bring trouble. But Vekar wanted to know, what was the real story about humans? Why was Earth so feared? As he looked through ancient files, Vekar saw images of wars, pain, and chaos. Earth's history was full of horrors, cities destroyed, millions lost, and endless fights. Other planets had their wars too, but Earth's were different. They seemed endless and cruel. Yet Vekar also saw something else, people helping each other in those dark times, risking their lives to save strangers, and never giving up hope. Vekar wondered, why did the galaxy want to hide this? Why did the Council erase these stories from the public? The answer was simple and scary. The galaxy was afraid of humans, not because of their weapons or technology, but because of their will to survive, even when everything was against them. The Council had made many decisions to keep Earth isolated. They said humans were too wild, too violent, and could never be trusted. Some species wanted to destroy Earth before humans could spread their chaos across the stars. Others just wanted to watch quietly, afraid of what humans might do next. Vekar knew the truth was not so simple. Humans were not monsters, but they were not angels either. They had done terrible things, but they had also done incredible things. The galaxy only told half the story, the dark half. The bright half was hidden, buried under years of fear and lies. One day Vekar found a secret transmission from Earth. It was a voice recording from a human named Sarah. She spoke about her family, her fears, and her hopes. She talked about the wars, but also about peace, about fighting not to destroy, but to protect. Her words were full of pain and strength, a mix Vekar had never heard from any alien before. Vekar played the recording over and over. He felt something change inside him. He realized that humans were not just dangerous, they were real, alive, and full of contradictions. They could be cruel, but also kind. They could break, but also heal. The galaxy had only seen what scared, not what inspired it. The more Vekar learned, the more he wanted to share the truth. But it was not easy. The Council still controlled what aliens could know about Earth. They called Vekar's work dangerous curiosity. They warned him to stop digging. Some of Vekar's own people turned against him, afraid of what his discoveries might mean. But Vekar was determined. He knew the galaxy needed to see humans as they truly were. Flawed but strong, broken but brave. The real story of Earth was not just about horror. It was about survival, about hope, about the power of the human spirit. One night, as Vekar watched the blue planet from his station, he saw lights flickering on its surface. People lived there, loved there, fought there, and dreamed there. For the first time, Vekar didn't see Earth as a threat. He saw it as a challenge to the galaxy's fears, a challenge to the lies that kept peace but hid truth. He decided to send a message to the Council, a message they could not ignore. The truth about human horrors was not a reason to fear or hate. It was a reason to understand and respect. Humans had survived things no other species had. They had made mistakes, but they had also made miracles. Vekar knew his message might change everything. Some would welcome it, others would fight it. But he believed the galaxy was ready to face the truth. The story of Earth could no longer be buried in darkness, because sometimes the darkest secrets hold the brightest lights. And sometimes the story the galaxy tried to bury was the story it most needed to hear. The stars above Earth twinkled quietly but far away. Deep in the galaxy's shadows, secrets were stirring. Vekar, the young alien investigator, had uncovered only the beginning of Earth's hidden story. Now, He was ready to dive deeper into the forgotten wars that shaped humanity. Vakar's journey took him to old space libraries, where ancient records were stored on crystal discs and holographic scrolls. These records showed battles unlike any other in the galaxy. Fights not just between armies, but between brothers, neighbors, and sometimes even within one person's heart. The galaxy had tried to forget these wars, calling them brutal and pointless. But for Earth, these were stories of survival. He saw images of soldiers marching through mud, faces tired and scared, yet holding on to hope. Cities were destroyed, families torn apart, but somehow life continued. There were moments when humans chose to fight each other, but also moments when they came together to save lives, share food, and rebuild from ashes. The most surprising thing for Vakar was the strong emotion behind these wars. Aliens often fought for power or territory, but humans fought for ideas, for freedom, and for love. Sometimes their anger was fierce and cruel, but beneath it was a deep desire to protect what mattered most. As Vakar studied, he found records of wars so terrible, the galaxy had erased most knowledge of them. These were wars where humans faced their own fears and sometimes their own darkness. Vakar watched a battle where a single city was bombed so heavily that almost nothing was left. The cost was high, but the people refused to give up their home. This refusal was what puzzled Vakar most. Why did humans choose to fight so hard, even when defeat seemed certain? The answer came slowly. It was not about winning or losing. It was about hope. Humans believed that even after the worst horrors, a new day could come. In one record, Vakar saw a small group of humans trapped behind enemy lines. They were surrounded, hungry, and scared. Instead of giving up, they sang songs of home and remembered their families. Their courage moved Vakar deeply. It was not a strength of body, but a strength of spirit. The galaxy had wanted to forget these stories because they showed humans were unpredictable and dangerous. But Vakar saw something else. They showed humans were alive and never truly broken. This made them harder to fight, and even harder to understand. As Vakar prepared to share his findings, a warning came from the council. They said, "These stories will only bring fear and chaos. Stop this now." But Vakar refused. He believed that to truly know humans, the galaxy must see all sides, the good and the bad. The secrets of Earth's forgotten wars were not just about destruction. They were about the cost of survival and the power of hope. Vakar knew the galaxy was ready to hear the full story, because sometimes the darkest battles show the brightest courage. Far across the galaxy, Vakar sat alone in his quiet chamber, staring at the flickering images of Earth's past. The more he learned, the more he realized one hard truth. Every human carried a monster inside them. This monster was not like the scary beasts some aliens feared. It was something different, something darker and more complicated. The monster was inside every person's mind, their heart, their choices. It was anger, fear, jealousy, and pain. Vakar saw humans do terrible things to each other. Betrayals, fights and betrayals again. They hurt friends and strangers alike. Some humans used their monsters to gain power or revenge. Others were swallowed by their fears and lost themselves completely. The alien investigator was shocked. Aliens in the galaxy thought of themselves as perfect, controlled, and logical. But humans, with all their emotions and chaos, were wild and strange. This made them dangerous. No alien could predict what a human might do next because their monster was unpredictable. Yet, in the middle of all this darkness, Vakar saw something else. He saw humans who fought their monsters every day. People who chose kindness even when anger burned inside them. Mothers who protected their children despite fear. Friends who forgave even after betrayal. This inner fight was the real battle humans lived with. Vakar realized the monsters were not only a curse but also a source of strength. Without fear, humans would not survive. Without pain, they would not grow. The monster inside them was a part of what made humans who they were, flawed but alive, broken but brave. This truth puzzled Vakar. How could such a violent and messy species also be so strong and inspiring? The galaxy had only seen their destruction, but Vekar knew now that humans fought not just with weapons, but with their hearts and souls. The more Vekar studied, the more he understood that the galaxy had misunderstood humans for centuries. They feared the monsters inside humans, but those monsters were also the source of their greatest courage. And that was a power no weapon could match. Vekar closed the records and looked at the stars. He knew the truth was dangerous, but hiding it would only keep the galaxy afraid and divided. The real story of humans was not simple, and that was why it was so important, because sometimes the monsters within are the key to true strength. Vekar's journey into the heart of Earth's story led him to a difficult truth. The price humans paid to survive was higher than the galaxy could imagine. As he dug deeper, he saw not just wars or monsters, but sacrifices made in silence, pain carried alone, and choices that weighed heavy on the soul. On distant planets, wars were fought openly, armies clashed, and losses were counted. But on Earth, survival was often quiet, personal, and painful. Families lost loved ones in hidden ways, and entire communities suffered without the galaxy knowing. Vekar found stories of people who gave up their dreams to protect others. Mothers, who worked all day and night, risking their lives just to feed their children. Soldiers who stood alone in the dark, knowing they might never come home. The galaxy had seen humans as wild and violent, but it had never understood their strength. To carry pain without breaking, humans could lose everything but still keep moving forward. Vekar saw that survival was not just about fighting enemies. It was about holding on to hope when everything seemed lost. One record showed a small town hit by disaster. The people had no help from outside, no weapons to fight, only their will to survive. They shared food, cared for the sick, and buried their dead with respect. Vekar realized this was the true heart of human horror. Not the violence, but the endless struggle to live and keep their humanity. The price of survival was high. Some humans lost their kindness, some lost their faith, and some even lost themselves. But many found new strength, new reasons to fight. They made impossible choices every day, balancing between hope and despair. Vekar began to see why the galaxy feared humans, not because of their weapons, but because of their ability to survive anything. Their horror was not just in the past, but in their constant fight to live with pain and loss. The more Vekar understood, the more he wanted the galaxy to see this truth. Humans were not just survivors. They were fighters with hearts full of scars and courage. The truth was painful, but it was also beautiful, because sometimes the greatest horror is the price of living, and humans paid it again and again. Far beyond Earth, whispers of fear echoed through the halls of the Galactic Council. The stars themselves seemed to tremble at the name of humanity. Vekar learned that there were moments when the entire galaxy feared Earth, not for its weapons, but for something far deeper. The galaxy saw humans as unpredictable storms. Unlike other species that followed rules and orders, humans acted with passion and fierce will. Their emotions could drive them to great kindness or terrible destruction. This made them both dangerous and fascinating. Alien leaders had met in secret to discuss the human problem. Some wanted to isolate Earth forever, locking it away from the rest of the stars. Others wanted to prepare for war, believing humans would soon reach out and conquer other worlds with fire and blood. Vekar found records of secret missions sent to Earth to watch and, if needed, stop humans from growing stronger. These missions failed because humans did not fight like others. They used their creativity, their courage, and above all, their refusal to give up. Even when outnumbered or outgunned, humans found a way. One story told of a small human crew stranded on a distant moon. Surrounded by enemies and with no hope of rescue, the crew used tools and machines in ways no alien had thought possible. They built defenses from scrap, planned carefully, and fought with everything they had. In the end, they escaped, not just by strength, but by their endless determination. The galaxy feared humans because their power was not only in weapons or numbers, but in their spirit. This spirit was wild, free, and sometimes uncontrollable. It was a force that could change the course of wars and shake the foundations of alien empires. Vekar knew this was the truth the galaxy wanted to hide. Humans were not just another species. They were a storm that no one could stop. And that was why so many tried to bury their story in silence. But silence would not last forever. The truth was rising, and with it a new respect for the warriors of Earth. The humans who terrified the stars, not with weapons, but with their hearts. Because sometimes, what the galaxy fears most is not power, but passion that cannot be tamed. The galaxy was full of powerful armies and mighty weapons, but none could match the strange and fierce power of humans. Vekar learned that humans had a secret that made them terrifying, not their technology, but their will to keep fighting no matter what. In many wars, aliens surrendered when hope was gone, but humans kept going. Even when their homes were destroyed and friends lost, humans found new strength deep inside. This was a force no weapon could break. Vekar discovered stories of soldiers who stood alone against impossible odds. One story told of a human named Jara, who defended a small village from an alien attack. She was outnumbered and outgunned, but she never gave up. Jara used every skill she had, not just with weapons but with clever plans and quick thinking. She saved many lives that day, not because she was the strongest, but because she refused to lose. This stubbornness was a kind of power that confused the galaxy's greatest minds. Aliens could not understand how humans survived when the rules said they should have failed. But humans did not play by the same rules. Their fight came from their heart, from love, hope, and sometimes anger. Vekar also found that humans helped each other in ways no alien expected. In the darkest moments, they shared food, healed wounds, and stood together. This made them stronger as a group. Even when one human fell, others rose to take their place. The galaxy's fear of humans was not just about battle or weapons. It was about something deeper. It was fear of a force that could never be stopped because it came from inside, from the soul. Vekar knew the galaxy had to change how it saw humans. They were not just wild fighters or violent creatures. They were survivors, warriors with hearts that refused to break. Because sometimes, the greatest weapon is the will to never give up. The story of humanity was no longer a secret hidden in shadows. Vekar stood before the Galactic Council, ready to share everything he had learned. The room was silent as he spoke of humans, their horrors, their pain, but also their strength and courage. Many in the council were shocked. They had believed humans were only a threat because of their violence. But Vekar showed them something different. Humans were terrifying because they never gave up, because their spirit could survive any darkness. Some members of the council feared this truth. They worried that admitting it meant the galaxy could no longer control Earth or keep it isolated. Others saw hope, that maybe humans could teach the galaxy about true courage and resilience. Vekar ended his speech with a warning. The galaxy must stop fearing humans as monsters. Instead, it should respect them as warriors of spirit, who had faced horrors no other species could survive. Only then could peace be built, not on fear, but on understanding. After the meeting, messages spread quickly across the stars. Some species accepted Vekar's truth and reached out to Earth with friendship. Others remained wary, but even they could not deny the power humans held. On Earth, life went on as always. People loved, fought, and dreamed. But now the galaxy watched with new eyes, no longer hiding from the truth. The galaxy had feared humans, most not for their weapons or strength, but for their heart. And in that fear there was respect. Because sometimes the greatest power lies not in force, but in the will to live and fight against all odds. The galaxy held its breath as the final truth about humanity unfolded before all its stars. Vekar's journey had revealed much, but the last piece was the hardest to share. The secret humans carried deep inside, the truth about what made them both feared and admired. Humans had survived horrors beyond imagining, not only wars and disasters but the darkest parts of themselves. Their history was filled with pain, loss, and mistakes, but also with hope, courage, and endless willpower. This was a truth no alien race could fully understand, because it was not just about battles or power. It was about the heart and soul. In the great halls of the Galactic Council, debates raged. Some wanted to continue fearing humans, to keep them locked away, but others called for change. They said the galaxy needed to accept humans as they truly were. Not perfect, not monsters, but complex and strong. Vakar stood quietly, watching as the galaxy slowly began to see Earth in a new light. Humans had fought not just with weapons but with spirit. They had faced impossible odds and still stood tall. This strength was not just physical. It was a force that could inspire hope and courage across all worlds. The final message was clear. Fear alone could not protect the galaxy. Only understanding and respect could bring peace. The story of humanity was no longer just a secret to bury. It was a story to learn from. As the stars shone above Earth, a new chapter began. One where humans and aliens might finally meet not as enemies but as allies, united by the shared strength to survive and dream. Because sometimes the greatest truth is the one we fear the most, and sometimes that truth can change everything.